Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Good evening, Rush Nation. How are we doing? And yes, it is a little complicated because we have two live streams going on at the same time. The NFL show is going on, and that's awesome. And this is traditionally their night. But with regards to us, we do have our own show, which is going to be our auction show. If you've been looking at the preview for this, we have our Listener League auction draft. Last year we did this with the incredible Drew Davenport of Football Guys, and so we got a lot of love, a lot of fans for this, and people were really intrigued to see what would how these go. And so as a result, we thought, hey, we would do this again. And air auction drafts, it's something that perhaps is a little slow, hasn't really picked up as much as other forms of fantasy football. So hopefully this will help. You'll also notice I got I would say a guest with me, but it's not a guest. If you've been following us on the socials, it's our new co-host, Danny. Most people will know you in the UK community, maybe those internationally who played leagues with you. But welcome to the family. It's great to have you. Stocks isn't going away. He will be back on the streams ever so shortly. But hey, it's great to have you part of the family, man, and welcome.
Thanks, mate. It's interesting to be on when the other stream's on at the same time.
It is. I mean, it's their night, and they're picking up some traction, so I don't want to interrupt. It was purely me. I'll take the L on this one. So we were going to do this on Thursday, and unfortunately, my day job decided to schedule a 15-hour day. So I'm working until 1 a.m. that day. So it meant I had to then mess with 11 people's lives to move this draft. But we got it to a Tuesday, so that's why we're doing this now. But it's awesome. Like, I think anytime you can do like a live draft, it's amazing. We do also have our live draft tomorrow for our Discord members. Danny, why don't you talk about Discord, because this is your baby and what you've already done in the short time you've been with us.
Yeah, so it's only been live about a week, so we've started sending a couple of messages out. We got about just under 100 people joined already, so there's quite a lot of channels in there, ranging from all different types. One of the main reason is all about the community side of things, to be honest. It's a free Discord. It's more just to get everyone chatting. People chat on X and on Blue Sky and different places, but this was more where you could just come in and chat live to a degree, and also a way, I suppose, to use your knowledge. Like, you know so much information, and it's a good way for people to ask you questions and stuff, and try and say, I'm looking to do this. What do you think? Or an hour before deadline, I'm not sure about this lineup. But any ideas or any rationale of why you might go for this player over that player. At the same time, we've sort of opened up. It's sort of already growing legs. There's channels opened up where we're not necessarily running the channels. So, for example, I know Jack, the guys will know Jack. Jack's going to start posting some of his DFS content in there as well. And then we've got the Best Ball Europe guys posting their links going forward as well. And then there's some of the guys who are running new charity competitions, and they're trying to get a bit of traction. They haven't got the following count yet. So we've put that in there as well. It's not really just a 5 yard rush, about your content. It's more about the community and just giving a place for people to come and chat. And that could be from the UK, or it could be anywhere else, really. Like I don't know if the guys know, but I'm in Ireland. Like, I'm obviously from Liverpool, you can tell by the accent. But I've been in Ireland for a long time. So there's certain games that we can't even play in Ireland that you guys can play, or ones that none of us can play in America as well. So we try to cover for most people. Like, I've set up a lot of feeds which will have information coming from loads of different places. So even though we can't play it, there'll be like DraftKings and all kinds of other ones where, as they tweet it, it'll just get thrown into the channel for DraftKings, and you can just pick up the information from there. And it's there's a lot. I've probably got a bit overkill at the moment. I've set up millions of different feeds, but we'll just refine it as we go and see what's working, and then get feedback from people as well. So the main thing I've set up at the moment is I've just set up like the 32 team roles. So as you join, if you tell me who you support, I can assign you the team roles. So that's already starting to create some banter in the group because people can see who each other supports and they're having a laugh and a joke about it as well. And you might realize that some people that you knew didn't actually know which team they supported, and they might support the same team as you as well. So it's very early days. It's only been live a few well, probably about a week now. So we've been tweeting out the link to it a little bit, but we'll keep pushing that as well. I set up a Blue Sky account the other day as well. So we're starting to use, because I know there are people who only use that as well. So we'll put the links out on there as well. It also has all the feeds from the shows. So if you do, like, so when you're doing this show and you put it on YouTube, it'll automatically put it in the Discord. The same for the other guys as well. It's like most people use Discord in some way, so it's very configurable. You can add loads of new things, and you can even run live streams from the Discord in the future and stuff like that as well. Also, from your Patreon point of view, like, so when you're doing your ranking, your projections, or you're doing your Patreon cast, we've got a channel that's just set up separately for that as well. So you'll only see the group if you're a Patreon, but it'll automatically send things into there as well. So it's, I say 95% of it is community, and then there's a little part there for the Patreon side of things as well. But it's starting to, there's also people who have just decided to start posting their own content in there. So, like, we're getting college. One of the guys there is posting a lot of his college football stuff in there already as well, and that's getting a lot of people talking, especially after Bill Belichick's first match the other day. That's got people talking in there as well. But yeah, no, that's it really from a Discord point of view. I say it's very laid back. There's no real rules to it as such. It's changing by the hour. It's literally.
Which is amazing, and it's a great idea. And in terms of content for the season, so waiver wire. So I'm going to post a waiver wire video tomorrow. Normally it'll be on a Monday or Tuesday. Probably Tuesday will be the most likely, first thing on Tuesday morning. Waiver wire video. Then there'll be the NFL show. That's on Tuesday nights. Then we got our show on a Thursday night, and then in between there will be the matchup show, which I do every season, which is where I split it into two parts. So we cover off, I basically tape my rankings and I just talk through what all the players, all the fantasy relevant players are from every game and my sort of perspective on that. So all of that's going to be there. In terms of the Patreon, my rankings will be there. Patrons will get it first. There will be like an Ask Murph Anything. So I will endeavor to answer questions. I'm going to set some things now. I ain't answering questions an hour before kickoff. Like, I have too many teams to set, too many things to do. Like, it's not going to happen. The earlier in the day or the earlier in the week, the more likely I am going to answer your questions. I'm not going to commit to a time, but I am going to get through as many questions as I can. I am not going to answer questions on social media anymore. So if you DM me, I'm not answering questions there. It's a community thing. I want some of the answers to be public. Because a lot of people have the same questions, right? So I can point people into that direction. And the other part of it is, if you ask me like a start-sit question, I'll steer you to the rankings, because that's kind of what rankings are. They're telling you where I think a player is over another player. So unless it's custom scoring and something very niche, that's kind of the thing of that. So that's all going to be living there. So you're going to have more access to what we do and how we work, but it is about the community. We want to share ideas, and if you want to share your thoughts, then great. I also don't have a home for my wide receiver cornerback column, which I've done for about 6 seasons. So I might just start putting them in there, Danny. We'll see. I haven't talked to you about that, but
that'll be very handy for the DFS players, because that's how you find those cheap players who've got a good matchup in the week as well. So I'm sure that'd go down quite well in there.
Yeah. So I'll probably just write a reduced, condensed version of those and just pick sort of my highlights, and then I can put a list of other players I think are plus and minus matchups. So we could probably do that. There'll be more and more. We'll spring out some more ideas. It's new, but also tell us. Go into Discord and say, hey, Murph, we would really like it if you could do this. I'll be pretty honest. I'll say, yeah, I can. No, I can't. And we'll see what we get to. But it's all good. We'll post leagues and all this sort of stuff in there. So there's lots of places, lots of access. So do join the Patreon. There will be a link if you're watching the recorded version of this. And if you're not, then you're watching it live, then you probably already know where the Discord is. We've already got one of our auctioneers, Matt, who's going to be joining us in the auction room slowly. Tonight is an auction draft. So Danny, we'll get to hear a bit more about you, and we'll get to chat through this. And we will have some of these guys in the auction league coming on the stream as well, just talking about their strategy, their story kind of thing. It's a pretty standard auction draft. If you've never seen or done an auction draft, welcome. If you've never been on the channel before, welcome. Lots of new faces have been popping up. Someone sent me a message the other day, a friend of mine who I've not spoken to in about 7 years, said to me, your face is everywhere at the moment on the internet. Which I thought was nice and not nice at the same time. But anyway, it's all good. So we're going to get this auction started. It's a 12 team. To explain the auction, you have a fixed budget. It's $200, and you can effectively, in theory, bid for whoever you want. And Danny, you're going to get us kicked off here in a second. You have 10 seconds to nominate, and then you just bid. We'll talk about some strategies, some tips and tricks in this for people to reference for future years. And if you want to get a bit more strategy, watch last year's, because Drew Davenport is the king of auctions, and he very much was a great sport in last year's show. So you'll have tips from last year and this year. But we're going to get started here. I'm going to put Danny on the clock for nominating.
Give me 2 seconds.
He needs 2 seconds, so that's fine. I told Danny it's a lot of multitasking. But yes, so, got 12 guys in the league from all over the world. We've had people flying. We've had all sorts. So in terms of the nominating strategy, you can nominate whoever you want. Ross is another one who's along for the ride. Maybe he'll jump on the stream a little bit later on. We'll be here. So it's really interesting in terms of, like, sometimes you want to nominate players who you don't necessarily want and you want people to bid on. Sometimes you really hope to just get players early. Some people like to wait. There's a lot of strategy in this. This might be, in theory, about 2 hours. It seems like it will go on forever, and then the last 30 or 40 picks, because there's no budget, go through like almost instantly. So it does kind of start slow, and then it does speed up. But we're going to do our best to get through this as quickly as possible. Danny, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hitting the start button. So I need to turn the noises off because I can't be dealing with that. There we go. You need to turn your noises off. Right, so that's where we are with the auction draft. Danny's going to nominate a player, and then the bidding will start here. So he has nominated Brock Bowers. I need to pull this up to see the settings, which means I'm going to have to move us along. And you can see here, this is where the bidding is. I'm going to move us, Danny, because we're in the way. So you can see here the bidding is currently at $37. $36 is where it's at. So here I can offer if I want to offer. We're going to see there is a guide price in here. I would say these guide prices for Sleeper are significantly off.
They're about as good as Sleeper's ADP.
Yeah, they're a little bit punchy. Matty's gone. You've done that on purpose because he's a Raiders fan, and because he wanted to go with his comment here. If I hope I can contain myself, I'll spend the whole budget. Our reigning champion from last year, Commissioner Casey, has taken that down for $42. Punchy start. So here we are. So we're going to see players sort of come off the board relatively quickly. You're going to see me tilt to the right. I've got the auction on here. I'm not going to do my bidding here on the live stream. So I guess while we're just getting started and the auction is sort of getting underway, Tyreek Hill's being bid on as we talk. Tell people a little bit about yourself, how you got into NFL, how you found this way onto a live stream and a co-host role with me, and and sort of your love and passion for the NFL.
It just feels very, very much by chance in a lot of ways. I suppose my background from a fantasy point of view was always in different sports. So I've played like FPL since it began, the Premier League version, and even versions before that. So we're going back probably 20 something years at this point. So I would have been obsessed with that, to the point where I've got a separate Discord for FPL as well that I've been looking after for probably about 5 or 6 years, which came from another site that all the lads used to be on. And then I took it over onto the Discord version, so that we've got a few hundred people on that one as well. But yeah, now just really into fantasy football. And then gradually I started doing fantasy for other sports. And I suppose the connection to NFL came actually from golf. So I was playing a lot of fantasy golf, the DFS side of things. So the guys, putting for dough. So that would be like Jack, Mark, and Nick. I'd watch them quite a lot doing their content on the golf. Started following them on X and the rest of it. And then there's a lot of crossover with the people who were playing the golf and were playing the NFL. I remember then coming across your name at some point as well. And then one day, like, I've always wanted to get into NFL and fantasy, but I never really knew where to start. I already followed so many sports, and one day I just thought, I really want to do this. I've got a bit of time. The kids, very young kids, so I have a lot of time in evening times, but I don't really go out anywhere these days. So I just tweeted out one day and said, looking to get into the NFL, I have no clue what I'm doing, where to go, what to do around the fantasy side, because I always find if you play fantasy, it's the best way to learn a sport, because you have to know the inside and out of everything. So you get to know way more about the sport than you would do if you just turn the TV on and watched it. So I put that tweet out. Within 5 minutes, I got a tweet back from some NFL degenerate who sent me a message saying, here's a copy of my book. It gives you like an overview, like a beginner's guide, all the rest of it. Have a read over that. Ask me any questions you want. And I also run beginner leagues. So doesn't take a genius to work out who that person was. But I think it was your 2000. I'm trying to think what version it was now. It's like something.
I think it was the original. I think it was the 2020 book. I always kind of viewed the books as they level up a little bit more every year. So yeah. I don't like the this year's edition is not an edition for people who have never played before. It can be, but I don't think it is. I think the original 2020 edition, I feel, is kind of the entry level guide. And yeah, I mean, look, the players kind of are a bit out of date, but I still think a lot of the principles are hold true to give people an 100%. Idea of like what you got to do to get started. So no, I appreciate the kind words, and I think I always say to people, right, it's amazing these beginner leagues, right, that you kind of get out of it what you put in, and it's about like you're on this channel, and you're not the first from those beginner leagues who has made it on this channel. You know, Hannah Rowland, who most people will know in the UK community, came through those fantasy leagues. You know, she's someone who had never ever played fantasy football before. You'd never played fantasy football before, and I just think there's so much there for people that if you really want to embrace the community aspect and share this passion, then it's a good place to be. And yeah, we are there are degenerates out there like myself who can get you hooked very quickly.
Do you want to bid here, Miff?
No. I'm happy. I'm happy. No, I mean, it's fine. Listen, people take the mickey because of Baker. You know, like I have values and prices and how I like to do auction strategy, and I'll get into my bit in a bit. But I'm comfy at the moment. Like, it's fine. I'm sort of throwing a couple of bids in here just to kind of get the things moving. That Tyreek Hill bid, he went for 25 in the end. People were waiting down to the final second and then bidding up $1. It's like, hey, like, we don't really want to be here 4 hours, but that is how you can make an auction draft last longer, and just nickel and diming up like one at a time. Like, I
nearly picked the Tyreek as to start it off with, but I thought Bowers would be more fun.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, it's a case of I'm quite happy to, like just move bids on, and if I think there's a value there, I will jump in late. But I think it's interesting the value so far. People are ignoring the sort of par in sleeper, which is good, because I think we'll have a better auction that way, and the money won't completely sort of drain out of here quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of plans out now in the next few bits. So we can give some updates. Tyreek Hill went for $25. We had Jamar Chase went for 62. Brock Bowers went for 42. Brown Bear Rick has got Baker Mayfield and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley with 57. Baker Mayfield said feels like a pretty good price for him. And then Christian McCaffrey's just gone for $48. So and Josh Allen's now sort of getting bid up there. So yeah, we're starting to see the big names come off early, which is kind of normal for a draft, especially an auction draft. I think as well when I think about auction drafts, there's many different sort of kettles of fish here, and the ways that you can kind of go about this. A lot of people could wait late, and you can get some really valuable bargains. But do you end up getting the big splashy players? Josh Allen's gone for $26. So again, and now Bijan's up. So a lot of the big names are going early, which is really fascinating. When we're seeing this strategy that we're seeing all the heavy hitters going very, very early here. Normally you would kind of get some sprinklings of sort of, not I would say mid-tier, but that sort of tier down. We're really getting like the first rounders, mostly Tyreek Hill being the only one not out there. $55. NFL Hype Train has already spent, this is James, by the way, he'll be on a bit later, I think. He's already spent like $120. Justin Jefferson's piled out. This is literally like, we're just going to do all the first rounders now. This is interesting.
It's probably worth pointing out there, Murph, as well, that this is only one QB as well.
This is only one QB, you're right, yeah. And PPR, so it's pretty standard league. There's no crazy kookiness in here. There is defense. There's no kickers in this league, because that was the settings of last year. I think it was something that Drew and I were talking about. It's like, why would you do kickers? And then I was like, that's a good point. I'll take kickers off. But we do have defense in here. So it is, in terms of, this is slightly unusual. I don't think you'd normally see this many out. One of the things I want to do next year is I want to try and host a couple of live drafts. I'd really love to do a live auction. I think that would be a lot of fun to do, but we'll see how that goes as we get into next year's planning. $10, that's a steal. These are crazy picks so far. These are crazy. This is very unnatural to have these sort of caliber of players all come out of the traps quite early here. But that's where we are. I've just sort of made someone pay a reasonable amount for Justin Jefferson because he was going too low. You can have him for $55. Like that's some of the strategy. Like I didn't really have much intention of getting him. I would have taken him if he was cheap enough. But I wasn't in a position where I was going to pay $55 for Justin Jefferson here with that sort of injury record. So I'm glad that he was at one point like going to go in the 40s. So I feel like to nudge him to 55. So this is part of the brinksmanship. You kind of have to think about how much you're willing to spend and would you swallow it, and trying to bid other people up, but try not to get caught in that. Do you have a basic strategy here, Danny, for auctions? I know you've done a couple. We did one together a few weeks ago, of course.
Yeah, so I suppose because of the fact I'm trying to set the room up, so I've got one laptop for this, I've got another laptop for the draw, I've gone old school tonight, so I've got it all on paper. So I just went through and got a list of all the players and what I thought was a reasonable amount for each one of them, and I'm literally just working from that this time. Normally, I would have two computer screens, and I'd be ticking them. Well, I'm ticking them off on this, but I would do it on an Excel sheet and just keep a track to make sure I knew exactly where everybody was. This one's better than the one we were doing it on. It's a lot easier to see exactly where everybody is. So it was on ESPN, wasn't it? It was a bit harder to track it. I would say ESPN Fantasy, I think, is really good. ESPN Auction, I think, is a little jinky. Yeah.
And it kicks you out quite frequently, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, I think it's a tricky one. But yeah, I agree. I think the interface here is good. There's some things I would like changed on here, but I think overall it's not a bad auction experience. It's still quite new for Sleep. I think they brought this in. I think this is its 3rd year now that they've been doing auction drafts on here, maybe 4. It's good. I do think the values are well out of whack, but I do think the rest of it is pretty decent, and it does run pretty smoothly most of the time, which is good. The one thing I would kind of change here is like the displaying of the financials. I think it's a bit small. And see what people's like max bids are and stuff. I'd like to see those a bit bigger. Oh, I can nominate now. No, I wasn't paying attention. I didn't mean to nominate. I think I probably set the clock for nominations a bit quick, which I think a lot of people are getting caught out with who to nominate. Oh no, I can still nominate. There we go. Oh no, I can't. It is CD Lamb. I didn't probably wouldn't have chosen to do CD Lamb, but that's fine. We're here now. Yeah, my nominations. I've set it at a 10-second clock, so I think a lot of people, maybe if they're not getting a selection in quickly, it will just nominate the top player on the board. You can set a queue, which is probably what I'm going to start doing relatively soon, but I've got 12 picks to make that decision. There's a lot of money being spent in the room here already. Some players have already got 3 or 4 sort of lined up. I see you're bidding, Danny, at $50, and you're now getting bid up a little bit, which is interesting. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting room. A lot of the top talent is going early, so maybe people are panicking here, feeling like they got to reach for players, but I feel like they're going to be left with some real shortfalls. So it's that question of getting 2 or 3 elite players and then having a lot of garbage, or having a team of really good players, but maybe you're missing like the studs. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I see that you have you've put up one of my guys in Alvin Kamara.
I didn't want you getting a bargain at the end, Murph.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I can't deny you that. But that's fine. I just got him for 9. Oh no, wait, what? He said I was winning with $9, and then he went for 28. There you go. Sleeper did. I've just praised Sleeper, and it's just absolutely done me there. On my screen, I swear to you, it said $9 you're winning, 1 second left. I'm like, great. And then it's like, you lost $28. And I was like, okay.
He's coming on as well later, isn't he? Who's just sniped you?
Yeah, Ross. I mean, that's fine. It's just strange. It said like literally, I wish I'd screenshotted that now. But hey, we are where we are. So yeah, I'm trying to think of other things for auctions. So in terms of the budget setting is obviously really key. One of the tips I would give to people is work out how much you want to spend per room. So say, hey, I don't want to spend more than like $20 on my court. But yeah, Ross goes, didn't think I'd won Kamara. Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. That was glitchy as heck. I mean, it's fine. But I mean, like, at least he went for $28. If he went for 10, I'd have been annoyed. At 28, I can kind of sleep a bit easier. At least he went for a reasonable price. Still, I think cheap, but at least not like $10 cheap. We're seeing some major money. Brown Bear Rick has decided he's in a hurry, and he's already got a QB, so he's just blown it all on Jackson as well. So in a 1 QB league, he's gone ham, and spent 37 on 2 QBs, which is interesting. So yeah, I like I said, I think it's really, unless he's on auto, which if he is, then I feel really bad for him. He did say he might go on auto, but he doesn't say auto on the screen, so I don't know.
I don't think he is on auto.
Yeah, Dylan. All right, bud, how are you? Yeah, I think we're all good, unless it's one of your mates. Danny, wishing you luck on your first show.
Yeah, I know Dylan, yeah.
Oh, good.
Hey, Dylan. So the other thing, mate, it could be worth talking about was the one. I know his dad. So I'm trying to get him into fantasy. He's how old is he these days? Well, I think he's 15 or 16, and I've been trying to get them into it, so I give him the link before to say to have a listen. The one thing to say as well, Murph, is when we did that auction league the other day, we were in with like some real experts, but even those guys got stuck. You know, like John Hanson was in our draft, and he blew all his budget after about 6 players, and the rest of his team was awful.
Yeah, I think we showed a lot of real restraint in that draft, and I'm really pleased with how it came out. I am really pleased with it. I think that, and we'll show it. I'll pull a screenshot up on what we sort of did. We did show a lot of restraint. I think, there was a couple of times where I sort of took a gamble, and I was like, "Come on, let's just push in here. We've got the money, let's do it." And I think a couple of times we probably went a bit strong, but then I also think we picked out some unbelievable bargains down the line there, which I think is great. And I think it's not necessarily the players at the top of the board, like in any draft. It's who you fill the starting lineup with is going to be vitally important here.
Yeah, I think the funny thing was, I think we were on this very similar strategy to what Hannah was on, because Hannah was in the draft as well. So we were saving money, so was she. So we were bidding on the same type of players.
That's how Hannah always is in an auction. So I had some knowledge. I drafted with a few of these. This is the King's Classic. And I drafted with a few of these guys over the years. So I kind of knew a little bit about the room and how it was going to go to a degree. And I always have operated slightly differently in previous years. But like I said, I felt pretty good with what we pulled off there. And I think we got some good talent at the top, and then I think we got some really good talent sort of later on as well. So I think like in terms of what we pulled off, I think it's good. And I'll pull the team out later and kind of show you what we bid for players as well, because I think that's going to give you a good overview of it. But we'll sort of wait until we're a few rounds into this. And like I said, it sort of starts slow, but you do end up getting a bit more out of that. So James is going to come on in a minute. Danny and I are in a bid off for Derrick Henry. So this is going to be interesting. You and I are bidding live against each other on air. And I reckon Danny's probably trying to bid me up. Oh, look. Matt's got involved here. Which is fine. Like, let's see. If you've bid me up here $4, that's absolutely fine. I was always going to try and take Derrick Henry, and I'm happy to take him at $44. I feel like that's a pretty good price. I was starting to get a little worried about these RBs here, so I feel like getting him there was a good place to be overall. So yeah, I'm relatively happy that is who we've ended up getting there on my board. You've obviously got a few different well, you haven't got anyone on your board yet, but someone who has spent a lot of money is James of Full 10 Yards, who has joined us. James, welcome to the stream. How are you feeling after blowing over 100 quid already, or $100 on what must be said top talent?
Yeah, it's not my usual tactic. I'm usually the guy who tends to wait until the very end and just hoover up value in the mid rounds. But this, after not winning in any previous auction drafts I've been going, I just decided I'd flip the tactic up this year. So to be honest, drafting whilst putting my daughter to bed, I just ended up hitting the button until I won it for the first few. But in the end, to be honest, Josh Allen for 26 is incredible value versus what he was due. McCaffrey, I'd said my limit was 48, and Bijan going for 55. It's like all these numbers I'm going, yeah, I'll do it. It's just tactically, was it the right decision to do all three very early and leave myself with not a lot of depth? We're going to find out, but I'm happy with it at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bold strategy. You're going to have 3 stars at the top of the board, or a bona fide sort of top of the tree, so you can't argue that. I think Josh Allen's reasonable price. I think all your players are reasonably priced. I don't think you've overpaid for anyone. For sure. Oh, hang on a minute. It put me on auto. Got bailed out of trouble there. It got.
I just know I can keep that. Sort of, if they keep putting high level players up all the time now, I can kind of keep a low profile for a while.
Yeah. Oh, I thought I was going to end up with Trey McBride there because I'd gone to set my cue and I'd hit auto by accident. And it was like $30 for Trey McBride. No, that's not who I want. I've got out of jail there. I'm fine. Rambo Rick has spent all his money. He can only bid $3 a player now. So he's got a long couple of hours here. James, talk to us about your experience with auction drafts. You said that you started a different strategy. You not had too much success in the past. What do you like about auction drafts? How do you kind of approach them normally? What's your sort of tactic?
So I've been doing them for a few years now because I always thought they were just a better format, or at least it was. Sometimes you find that snake drafts just can get a little bit samey, as in your draft spot, you have a very similar strategy. You just maybe reach and fall on different players. Whereas auction, you can very much decide either focus on a position, focus on a player. If you want to build your team around, say you wanted the Chase Burrow stack and you were willing to pay anything to do it, you could potentially do it in this format. Usually my sort of thing is tip number one, always nominate people you don't want and let everyone else spend the money on them. And then two, don't splurge too early. That used to be the tactic. Now it's just a case of if you think a player is too cheap, bid. And as soon as you think that's reasonable, I'm willing to let him go for that, let him go straight away. And so far this is, I think, the 5th auction league I'm going to have had this year.
Nice.
And some of my other ones, since I've sort of changed it up a bit, I've done different tactics in each one, and each one's just come out really well. So, but it depends. A lot of it is knowing who you're playing against as well. If you've got experienced players who know what they're doing in the series and are not autoing, it's a massive difference.
Yeah.
For first timers and auto drafters. So it's when you're in competitive leagues, it does get a lot more tactical, and I love it for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt has gone boom Ashton baby, the Oakland Raiders. Danny, we've got to go to you, mate. You spent $3 on the DST.
Yeah. I just want what I think is the best DST, and I think they're the best ones this year. So I just happy just to box that off, forget about it, and then see what I've got left.
Yeah,
I know you hate you would be like, I'll get one off the waiver wire, but it's for $3. It's nothing, and I get the one that I want.
Tell Brown Rick that.
Pardon?
Tell Brown Rick that $3 is all he's got.
That's all he's got per player. That's it. He can't spend any more than that.
I wondered if he had the auto one because if it does feel like that a little bit.
But I've been watching. I don't know if he has. It's interesting. I don't know if he has. But I think regardless of it or not, I mean, look, he's got a stellar lineup. He's got the 2 QBs is the only part that's a bit questionable. But wow, I just got Breece Hall for $19. The room is getting cagey. It has gone cold quick, and I love that.
There's a lot of people unsure on Breece Hall, though, isn't there?
I agree. I'm very unsure, but I think for $19, I thought someone was going to bid me up. I'll be honest. I didn't think I was going to get him for that, but yeah.
Another tip
because I've got another auction. I'm literally triple auctioning right now. I have a slow auction draft, a fast auction draft where I deliberately spent up very early, and then I have a slow draft that's going on now. And Breece Hall went for less than 20 in all 3 of them.
That's mad. Okay, so I kind of thought he would be in the 20 to 23 ranges where I expected him to be. So that's interesting. The fact that he. Okay, I mean, I don't feel like I said I'll sleep easy with Breece Hall at $19.
And by the way, Murph, Puka, I was listening to you two and didn't realize he'd been bidding 29 on Puka is a bargain.
Yeah, 29 on Puka is excellent value. Yeah, we were kind of all asleep at the wheel with that one. But again, I feel like this is the point now where the room's going to go a bit cold. Because a lot of money's gone out of the room already. And I think this is those that have been Like I'm looking at Ben Burridge, who's not spent any. Who's Gridiron? He's the only one not spent any. Danny, you've not spent much. I think there's, Commissioner Casey's not spent a ton. Budgie's not spent much. Kingram's not spent much. You've got a few teams here that haven't spent that much money, and they're thinking, I could probably mop up some top talent at pretty good prices in this range. I'm going to update those who are perhaps listening now. If you're listening to this on the podcast version, this probably isn't the best audio because it is a very visual show, this one. So pop over to YouTube, hit subscribe. But I will just update some of the bids. Brian Thomas is currently being bid. He's at $39 now, $40. You got Derrick Henry, Breece Hall. I knew you were going to bid again, Danny. I just couldn't let him go for under $40. You can have him at 41. At 41, I feel fine. 39, I didn't feel like you should have him for that. Welcome to co-hosting with me. I'm going to screw you over by making.
Well, I pick Kamara, so you're getting your own back, aren't you?
Yeah, that's fine. So Baker Mayfield, has gone for 10. Saquon Barkley for 57. Rashee Rice went for $1. That's probably actually not bad. Even you have to swallow suspension, but $1 feels pretty good. Justin Jefferson went for 55. Trey McBride 35. Alvin Kamara $28. Jamir Chase 62. Devontae Adams 23. Brock Bowers 42 at the start of the show. Courtland Sutton went for 22. That feels pretty good. CeeDee Lamb 51. Jameer Gibbs 58. Devontae Chan 38. Ashton Jeanty 42. Ross Brown 43. Puka Nacua 29. Rashee Rice 1. Josh Jacobs 36. Tyreek Hill 25. Lab McConkey 27. Josh Allen 26. McCaffrey 48. Bijan 55. Denver DST has gone for 3. Brian Thomas Jr. 41. Trayvon Henderson 22. And I have just gone all the way for the jet stack with Garrett Wilson for $20. I'm fine. Again, $20. I'll live with that as my wide receiver 1. That's fine. I can sleep with that. So James, you're doing some content over at Full 10 Yards. Tell us a little bit about what you're working on this season. Who you're sort of any sort of content snippets you can share with us, and what you're focusing on at the moment.
So Sam's taking most of the podcast stuff, but I've been gradually, helping along as I can. Unfortunately, life caught up with me from doing the frequent fantasy articles, but put it this way, there are plenty of other people in the UK space happily doing a good job of that as well. But I think the usual weekly recaps will be kicking off as well. I'll be an occasional guest on there. There may be the odd article and so on, but most of the time it will be the usual sort of Twitter feed, X feed as it is nowadays, and hopefully a bit more short form content kicking around as well. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get back into the swing of things at the moment, but life with a 4-year-old, it's never easy to find the time and space.
And that's the tricky age. I just cost Danny another $8, by the way.
I was just about to drop out then as well. I was like, he's not going again.
I wasn't. When you went to 48, I was like, I was starting to think, I might get him here, and then I was like, just bid again. Then you bid up 2, and I was like, 48. I'm happy with you for having him for 48.
I had him down as 50 as the max.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I just feel like you had to spend some money, so I feel good that I didn't think there was anyone else in the room for that. So I was like, okay, I'd have taken him at 45. I felt all right at sort of 45, 46. I was okay. I wasn't going more than that. So when you went 48, that was fine. You'd have had him 47. But
that's probably another tip to put here is don't get too tied to players that you like as well in this, because I'm a Giants fan and I've just got neighbours, and that might have been a little bit of that in the back of my mind as well. So pay what they're worth, not who they play for.
And don't be afraid to take players you don't love if you get a really good value on them. Like, I feel like I don't love Garrett Wilson, but I love the value I've just got him at, and Breece Hall again. I kind of feel like I can live with what I've picked up there. So I feel like, I think if you can get the values, you sometimes are probably not going to pick the players you would necessarily have picked. But if that gives you the money later on to go and have a go on the players you do want, I think that's going to put you in really good stead to go on and do other bits as well. So Ross is going to join us in a minute. We'll keep you on, James, as well. We're just going to have as many people on who want to come and join. We're just going to have an auction party. Let's celebrate auctions, because just don't feel like it's a fantasy format that's played enough in the UK. What sort of inspired you, James, to sort of start playing auctions? You mentioned you got sort of 3 on at the moment. Like, what kind of inspired you to do it?
I just prefer the format. I don't know if I'm just a glutton for punishment on how long it takes, but I say it's just variety. It's you definitely can't really have 2 auction drafts the same. Snakes, sometimes you almost can.
Oh yeah.
But it's I got into it, like, if you say, quite early on, because someone I'd randomly joined one. I think I was just mocking in like my early years. I mean, I've been playing fantasy 13 years this year, I think it is. And I think, a few years in, I was just mock drafting in different forums and just stumbled on an auction draft and went, oh, this is different. And then found one where it was just a play it now league, and that was suddenly like, oh, this is actually quite fun. And then a few of my friends who, I play quite frequently with, we just said, right, each year we tend to do about 8 or 9 leagues. And one of them was specifically an auction draft. And that's kind of worked out being everyone's favorite league, just because of the variety of it. And it also works very well with the keeper format. If you only want to keep like 1 or 2 players, and you have an easy direct metric in terms of what value you pay versus your $200 budget. When it's round by round, it's not quite so easy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just going to give myself a little slap here for spending more than $1 on DST, and I know Danny was going to call me out on it because I spent $2 on the Pittsburgh Steelers DST. I'm going to tell you why I did that. It's because it's the Steelers DST, and I always say that you should just draft the Steelers DST.
Agreed. I'm wearing this shirt for a reason. No.
It's just they're just statistically always have been, always will be the best DST. You just don't need to worry about it. I always have a rule: don't look at who is the best DST. Just take the Pittsburgh DST, the Baltimore Ravens DST, or the Patriots DST. They will put you in good stead. So just take those in your.
Just going to what James was saying about the auctions, I just find any live draft where there's a short clock is my favorite one. It's just because you have to think on your feet, and it's how I know if I actually am any good or if I'm learning, because you can go, if you've got 8 hours for a pick, you can go off and ask other people's advice and see how things lie. When there's a clock like this, you have to literally decide straight away, so you're testing your knowledge.
By the way, I'm whooping because I got Kyron Williams. Which is a great tie into our next guest, who is wearing you're not wearing a Kyron Williams jersey, because that would have been perfect. But you are wearing a Rams jersey, so it's close enough. Ross, who's also bidding in here, how are you doing, my friend?
First time I've ever done it. I've paid too much for Chase, I think.
No, I mean, it's the top end of what he's worth, but he's the best player on the board, so I kind of feel like that's fine.
Yeah, I'm furious now that I've missed out on Williams. I wanted to get all the Rams fan. I took Adams too early and didn't get Nakua, so still going a bit south really while I'm trying to keep up with it all. I've got a spreadsheet to try and see how much everybody's spending and see if I can talk people up later, but that's not worked. I've lost track of that.
You can do a trade, Ross, later.
Say again, sorry.
You can do trades.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll need a lot of players for $1, I think, later.
Yeah, but that's kind of how it should be. Get your bench for $1 and just kick on and just see how you get on. So at the end of the day, I think you're going to be fine. Nico Collins is on there. So yeah, Kyrie Williams 31. Feel like that's the top end of what to pay, but yeah, I feel like now my running back room is kind of where I want it, with Henry, Hall, and Williams, all different bye weeks. That kind of just gives me that solid base of what I want in constructing my teams. Anyone that's watched me all the years know I like to have a nice solid running back room. James is going to be nominating in a second, so keen to see what he does. Ross, so did you say this is your first ever auction draft?
My first ever auction draft, yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I've joined loads of your drafts this year. This is somebody introduced them to me, and it's become a real addiction very quickly. My wife thinks I'm cheating on her. Yeah, causing all sorts of problems.
Tell you a trick with that. Mine plays against me in some of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
she does, doesn't she? That's right.
Yes,
I've had so many people turn around to say to me when they've met me, it's like, my wife doesn't like you very much.
Yeah. True story.
Yeah, it's fine. Just blame me and just say that there's this guy online, but he does things for charity. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But no. So how long have you been playing, Ross? How long have you been playing fantasy football in general? And
I've been playing at a really low level for a long time. I went to Florida State University, so
did you know? You didn't tell me that.
I've been into college football initially, and then for the last 20 years, more the NFL. Although Florida State had a great result yesterday or Saturday, so that was good.
I don't know if you know this. I went to UF.
Oh, I didn't know that. Now, I'm a Gator hater, so I've got to absolutely. I'll find something else to do all season. Oh. That's awful news.
Yeah, no, I went to UF. Yeah, at the time I went with Spurrier was there.
I went to Florida State when Winky was there, so that's how long ago that was.
Yeah. Oldest quarterback ever.
Yeah. I tried to make it in the minor league baseball and failed, and then came back. Yeah.
Oh wow. DJ Moore for $21 is really good. Ben's in a great position here. He's just bought his first player, and he's got DJ Moore for $21. Like, I feel like he's in a good position here with his money. I've spent some money since we've been chatting. I bought DK Metcalf for $19 because I was convinced someone was gonna put 20 on the table, but that's fine. Like, I'm okay with that.
19's fair.
19's all right. Again, like, it's one of those, if you're going to bid, you have to accept the fact that you might end up with the player.
That's one of the other big rules with auction is know that when you're going to bid, the other person may very well be playing chicken with you. And there is always a big gamble between bidding someone up to try and get rid of their budget and being lumped with the person you're bidding up. So it's a very careful game, but if you play it correctly, you can get yourself bargains later on down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think it's okay. Like, I think again, I look at this team, I probably wouldn't draft many of these players in redraft, but that's okay because it means I've just got a bit of a different team to normal, and I'm not anti that in the slightest. And I think it's, again, different strategies and different things at play. I probably spent more money than I thought I would at this stage, but I'm reasonably comfortable with it. We should probably update some of the pot sizes. So Danny just got Deebo Samuel for 10, which feels like a pretty good value there. Danny has $76 left. James, you've got $71 left. Ross, you have $87 left. I have $65 left. Ben Burridge, Gridirony, has $179 left. So he's got plenty of money. Brown Bear Rick has 12. The champ, Commissioner Casey, has $158 left. Budgie's putting together a good team, He's got $101 left. He's got 5 of his starting team in Lawrence, Connor, Sutton, London now, and Engram. That's not bad to still have $100 left. Kingram's got Sutton. He's got Lamb and Kittle. He's got 126 left, and then James has got. James wrote something in the chat earlier, and I missed it. Why did Rice glitch and never let me bid? Sleep before you, mate. I think it's happened a couple of times now. He's got $65 left, having spent it all on Gibbs, Achan, and Collins. So I'm going to put you all on the spot here and just say, at this point in the draft, 2 questions to each of you. I'll start with Danny, then I'll go to James, and I'll go to Ross. Do you like your team? Is the first question. And whose team would you rather have at this stage of the draft?
I would say so. I'm happy with the players I've got. I probably paid a bit more than I should have for some of them. I'm still lacking quite a few players. So if I could swap to another team, I'd say probably it's a tricky one actually because they're all in different places at the moment. Like the one, like I like the players that Crispy's putting together, but at the same time he spent a lot of money on them as well. So like I like his players. But as you said before, like there's someone there who's like got most of them money, loads of money left, and it's got a good core of players as well. So yeah, I'm not really sure to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. James?
I'm definitely liking mine, and now that I'm sort of seeing what budgets people have got left and sort of what I'm going to have to play with the 71 I've got back, I am feeling very happy with my position. Given the choice, I don't think I would swap roster with anybody. I think I would be confident keep with mine. Raider Butts is one I quite like, and even Chris's I quite like, in all honesty, with the most players and still plenty of budget left. It's the mid-range stack I used to go for, but it never used to win. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But nah, I'd back myself this time.
Yeah, nice. Ross?
I dread that I've paid over the odds for everybody, but we'll see. I like Raider Butts' roster so far.
I'm looking at that roster and think that's the best for me at this stage. And I know it can all change, but to have Daniels, GT, St. Brown, Puka, Rashi Rice,
even Rice for $1, right? I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's a steal. Apparently, it glitched out. I mean, yeah, that did look a bit weird, but that's fine. Like, you take the rub and the smooth in this.
Don't be giving Matt too much praise, though.
No, because he's going to jump on in the comments and do a victory lap, and that's fine. And it is what it is. No, I like it. I'm with you. He said we'll struggle week 8 though, which is fair.
yeah.
He has got some week 8 issues, but that's I think. Ross, I think you're Ross. You're in a good position because you've got $87 left. You've got some money here. I think if you get a good RB, a good QB, a little bit of depth here, I think you're in a good position to strike quite nicely. Chase Brown's gone for $36. That feels a bit steep, but I think we're starting to see this RB attrition. I mean, there's one player there that stands out on that board as a player who looks. As long as I'm playing Danny week 8, it'd be fine. Getting trolled here. I think that is I mean, Bucky Irving is like the standout piece here, so that's going to be interesting how he plays out, and how much he goes for. What I would say is I'm okay with my team. I don't jump for joy, and I'm really glad I got Kyron Williams and Derrick Henry. I feel like I'm going to end up with a really top running back room, which helps. I think it all depends who I get at quarterback and who I get at sort of wide receiver 3 and 4 range. If I get 2 or 3 more good players, I'll really like my team. At the moment, it's kind of like I don't hate it. It's got the foundations of being decent. I don't know if I've got the stud on it, is the question. Oh, I get to nominate. Let's nominate. I'm going to pick Emeka Ibuka. Let's see what his price is going to go for at this stage of the season.
And this research I had goes out the window because so many keeper leagues, it means his value gets punched up.
He's already at $13, by the way. 40.
For reference, projected 5.
5. Yeah, which I mean,
which
is up to date. $14 for him feels high. Matthew Gold went for 13 for reference. Same person bought him though. Deebo Samuel for 10. There we go. Bucky Irving. Danny's decided to sprite up here. Let's see how much. Do we think Bucky Irving goes over $40?
I reckon he goes for nearly the same as Jacobs and Brown at 36.
It's at
And I
25.
can say that because I'm not going to bid.
Yeah, I was going to bid to 25 to get this moving along. Now it's at 29. It's going to hit 30 in a minute. Then that's fine. Ross, what would you say to people who are listening to this, watching this for the first time, thinking this looks absolutely batshit crazy?
It is absolutely batshit crazy. It's so fast. You're looking around trying to do it, and then somebody else's bid. You put a bid in. It's a bunch of fun, but it is batshit crazy.
Would you do it again? Is the question.
Oh yeah, in a second.
$34. That was a good prediction, James. $34 he went for. Which you went to Ben, which is good because Ben needed to spend some money.
One of my mates just messaged them that has no clue what's going on, and he's just messaged saying, "Is that your real money that you're playing for $200?"
Right, you joke.
$200 at the beginning, to be honest.
You joke. At university, I played a real cash auction league, but it was $100, not $200. And that money was the prize pot for the league. So, yeah. Let me tell you, when it is your own pound coins, or it was dollar bills, because it was in American University, when it's your own dollar bills, you do think a lot more carefully about, do I want to throw in? I remember getting Priest Holmes that season for $8, and he ended up being the MVP, and it was phenomenal. T. Higgins for 20. That is phenomenal, Ross.
I know, but I've got both Bengals now, right? So if Burrow goes down, they're not going to do anything.
True. On the flip side, and it's probably the only team you can get away with having both. But yeah, you have got some trade bait there.
It's good value, I think.
So, you just need the Burrow super duper stack is on.
Oh, you are going to get bid up the wazoo for Burrow now. Everyone's going to see you on the line.
You can really bid someone else up.
But yeah, I think
it's to be horrible, so they just got to air it out all year.
I think next year we should try and do a live in-person auction, because I think it would be a great thing to do. And I think if you're watching this for the first time, as Danny's mate said, I don't have a clue what's going on. We're all having a lot of fun. It's just fun watching this, and it's so unpredictable. It is a bit like playing poker. I think if I've spoken to Drew Davenport at great length, and he has a great podcast on it, The Auction Brief, because he's a lawyer in real life, right? And what I really like about this is it is very tactical. It is about knowing who's in the room. And if you've had a read off some of these players, it does give you an advantage. And if you've never done it before, then you get to just kind of get a feel round. I think it makes you a better fantasy player, because I think it's that thinking on your feet. It's getting an idea of what players are worth, and it takes. I don't know if have you ever done. Poses to any of you. Have you ever, my sound's come through. Someone's watching this on the live. The feedback in my ears for me.
Sorry, that was me. I've got computers and phones and everything going.
Has anyone ever done one of those sort of salary cap leagues?
Not where the players have a literal salary, although I have heard about them where you it's not just that you have a $200 budget, but you also have so each player has an actual value irrespective of what you get them for, isn't it?
So effectively what happens is you have, it depends, there's many different ones,
different iterations,
where effectively they have a salary cap, but then the longer you keep them, the kind of higher up they go in value. Bit like a keeper league in that regard. Like you pay an extra penalty every year, unless you buy them. Like some iterations, you actually do what you do in the NFL. You sign them to a contract for like 3 years, and you agree like annual increases, kind of things. It's fascinating, like how it all breaks down and how you get to a result there. That's really tough, because you can push all in for a year, and if you lose, then you're really stuck for like 5 years. It's not like a dynasty where you can just trade your way out and rebuild. Like you could really be buried. So that's an interesting iteration if no one's ever done it. for sure. Oh, the champ is putting up some interesting buys now. He's just bought in the last few minutes Jalen Hurts for 21, Jackson Smith and Jigba for 26, which feels like good values there for sure. Are there any questions that either of you or any of you on the stream have with regards to auctions or just general strategy? And then I've got a couple of questions I'm going to ask you all about some thoughts on players this year.
No, I first year to all of this, like I said, so I'm never sure whether to just load up on running backs, load up on wide receivers, or I don't know. I guess you learn with experience, but I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it differs per year, right? I think you have to look at it. I think running back's deeper this year than other years, but I think you have to play with a certain style and you kind of feel for what you like. I like to have running backs. I know people that don't like them. It's different iterations and strategies. And the question I'm going to ask you all, and this maybe more for the slightly more experienced, is do you find that Dynasty is having a bigger impact in all these other leagues with regards to the older players either being cheap in auctions or going later in drafts because everyone has got that Dynasty mindset on, or are you not seeing that as much as perhaps I am?
Before you answer that question, Joe Burrow's up.
Yeah, I know.
I've just got to wrap my bid up.
Well, while you lot are bidding, I can go have a go at the question.
Yeah.
Simple answer, yes. It's certainly someone like Derrick Henry, I think, in redraft is a great example at the moment that coming off an RB1 or very high RB season could still very much be the RB1 overall. And there are definitely people who are in front of him who are not going to be in front of him at the end of the year. But I think people are just seeing, oh, he's maybe only got one more year, but that 1 year could be phenomenal. And I think it's more than 1 year. And I think he's not the only person. I think some people are forgetting that, redraft is 1 year and it's how good they are now. Yes, there could be a decline, but a 1 year declined player may still be better than the up and coming talent. Everyone's hoping to catch lightning in a bottle and get the burst out of the traps. And statistically, that's not that many people. And if you get it wrong, your roster is shot. So sometimes people just need to play it safe a bit more.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's interesting that everyone wants the shiny new thing. It's like it's very typical of society, right? Where people love. I used to remember a time, probably when I started doing streaming, where like rookies never really did much. You'd have a few, but they weren't many. It wasn't at the frequency that we were getting now. And now you're getting more and more success with rookies, but I still feel like the proven talent is just getting pushed further and further, and it's just like, oh, they're 28, they're too old, and then like Derrick Henry still pulls off a huge season, and lots of players, and the thing that annoys me are the tropes of like, oh well, so and so carried the ball 300 times last season, and when history repeats itself, like it never works out for him. You're like, yeah, but it's kind of different conditions, different times. You know, there's an element of that, sure, but there's also those kind of things as set to be broken. So, I think I'm starting to see what I find interesting is more people want stacks in redraft, and I'm still not convinced, and I would love to see the data on this to prove me wrong, that stacking significantly in redraft is a good idea.
It's all getting merged into one, isn't it, to a degree? So you've got your dynasty side where you're saying about the age of the player, but then a lot of best balls ended up in redraft as well. It's a bit all over the place, but you going back to your original question, James Conner's massive for that one. Is like he consistently gets points and nobody touches him in dynasty for ages.
No. I traded for him this season for a 3rd round pick. I'm like, you can't draft anything good at a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, I think that's good business.
Yeah, I'll take James Conner for a 3rd round pick next year if he's only got one leg.
I wish I played in that dynasty league.
Yeah, it does make you think like, yeah, I wish there were more leagues like that. For sure. I'm going to update some of the prices that have gone for those on the audio. We still get several thousand downloads on the audio, even for shows like this. Danny, you haven't bought anyone since Brian Thomas. James, you haven't bought anyone since you went mad at the beginning, so you're just sort of stashed. I'm trying to just get the latest. I'll just read off the results page. It's probably easier. So Kenneth Walker went for 25, Amarian Hampton 29. Joe Burrow went to me, by the way, for $20. I'm well happy with that. James Cook 25, Smith and Jugba 26, Jalen Hurts 21, Laporta 13. I mean, I'm not really in on him this year, but that feels good. By Matt, he's putting together a good team. T. Higgins 20, we talked about Ross. RJ Harvey 13, Bucky Irving 34, we talked about. My nominations it's queued up. It's going to be Pat Mahomes because I'm not interested in him. Ibuka went for 14, Dave Montgomery 12, Chase Brown 36, AJ Brown 31 feels all right. Jane Daniels 28, Matthew Golden 13, Drake London 39. I think that's about where we were. So we're starting to see sort of consistently now those sort of next tier, sort of good performers, not elite performers, starting to go for like the ranges. I think we're going to see Mahomes here go for $16+.
Mate, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
While we're talking about QBs, especially, just not for auction, but in general, like for redraft, around where they're actually going. You know what I mean? In a superflex, normally at the beginning, it's very heavy QB, but people seem to be starting to wait a bit later now. And when you look at like the top 4 QBs from last year, only 2 of those top 4 were what you'd class as being the big hitters. Like there was but you could, I don't know what round you could have got Baker Mayfield in, for example, and he was right up there as like number 4 or number 5 or something along those lines. And then there's other ones that went quite late who ended up in the top 8 as well. And then there's obviously ones that would have gone in the top 4 that finished like QB 17 or QB 18 or something like that as well. So like, is your planning or has anything changed for your thinking on that?
I think it depends on the league. It depends who I'm playing with. That's going to have some element in there. What I would say is, and I've said this for about 5 years, is I think QB is the most predictable position. If you look historically at rankings, the ordering is relatively accurate. When I say relatively, it's like 50, 60%, which doesn't sound that accurate. But when you're thinking about and when I mean relative, like we're talking about a player who went ADP 12 going at like 80, like QB 11 or QB 13, 14, like in the realm of where they're going, right? So I feel like for me, because it's so predictable, it's really easy to price in where you want to take your QBs. Like for me, I just feel like there's a tier of 4, a tier of 2, then you've got a couple of guys like Nix and May with some upside and Stroud who've got some upside, and then I think you've got a group of like really solid performers. My strategy is I really want one of the top 4, which is Jackson, Allen, Daniels, and Hurts. If I don't get them, I really want them one of Burrow and Mayfield. If I don't get them, then I'm quite happy to kind of just wait because I'll just get 2 of that regular tier. So I think what we're seeing is because of that leveling out, the top 4 go early, 5 and 6 go relatively early, and then you've got this waiting period because picking one of the other guys, there's not a significant upside. There is an upside for a May, for a Nix. People are touting about. How did Brock Purdy go for $1, by the way?
Purdy's all right for $1.
I missed that. I was too busy chatting. I wanted
Purdy. I don't know how that just went so rapid, but fine.
It's because we were gassing.
No, I just think it glitched. I just saw it.
This team looks even better now.
Oh yeah, I mean that's mad. So yeah, I think there's part of that argument that there isn't a lot to separate QB 7 and QB 14, QB 15.
Yeah, so you can wait.
So I think you can wait. So I think that plays a part. And then I think the rest of it is just, I think people really like wide receivers. I think this is the biggest period of history. I've been playing fantasy football 25 years, and I feel like this is the period of history where people are like most enamored with wide receivers. Like, people just want to run out and draft every wide receiver going, and especially the rookies and the people that are coming in. And it's fair because there's a lot of really good ones, right? But I feel like they're the ones that, it used to be quarterbacks used to get people out of their seats. Now I feel like in the fantasy football community, it's wide receivers that kind of get people out of their seats more. And there's this love of tight ends, which I love the position. I love watching it. I don't like it for fantasy football. So I think that plays part of it. But yeah, back to your Superflex question, I think you can wait, because there used to be this time where you used to have 12 or 14 good QBs, and then everyone else was kind of rubbish. And there was a period of time, James and Ross, you'll probably know this a little bit more, the Dalton line, where sort of Andy Dalton was like the line of demarcation between good and bad. Like, Andy Dalton that's your line of, he's not crap, but he's not good. And he was about QB 16. And then you were like, right, that's me. Whereas now, like, you got QBs in the 20s. Like, I'm quite happy to take like Michael Penix in a Superflex draft. I don't think he's terrible. He's like QB 26.
Yeah, I'm like that with Gino a little bit as well. With I've taken him very, very late as a second QB.
I think Gino could be good this year.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a top 20 QB.
Yeah.
So in the Superflex, he's a starting QB.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get Stafford. You can get Stafford very, very late as well, and you just need them. I've done it quite a bit where I took Gino and Stafford as my second and third, but very late on, and then just got the two of them together so that I got a bit of cover as well.
Got Mike Evans. I feel a lot better about my wide receiver room now. $21. I'm all right with that, lads. I'm going to be honest with you. In fact,
Brown Bears on auto.
Who? Oh, yeah, he's out of money, so it's all right. He can be on auto. He's got $3 left. Oh, here we go. Tony Pollard's getting bid up here. It's quite funny. So yeah,
he's got to do all the work for the Titans this year, though, right? The other guy, Spears, is it?
Right. That's a reach, Murph. I'm fine with it, mate. I'm sleeping like a baby. I have got a wide receiver one upside in Wilson, because there's no one else on that team that can catch the football, and DK Metcalf, who, if Aaron Rodgers is not crap, which is a big ask, sorry, James, then he's got wide receiver one, top 15 upside. I feel all right with that reach. With considering I've got $24 left, and I've only got a tight end and a flex to go before I buy my bench. Like, I'm good. I'll sleep like a baby. Taking Mike Evans for $21. I'm going to ask you the question I asked you a while ago. How are you feeling about your teams now? Because we are pretty close to halfway, I think.
I feel sick paying 16 for Swift, but I hate the mess of these running backs.
Yeah, I mean, we're 68 picks in, and there is we still got about 100 players to go. But like I said at the end, the last 50 go quick.
Yeah, be prepared to take time with this.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that's over quickly. My wife was like, "How long do you think this will last?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. Go to bed. And I'll see you in the morning." Couple of hours at least, because the one we were on, Danny,
you're very good with your money. 3 hours if you're not.
Yeah. I think, Danny, how long was the auction? That was over 2.5, wasn't it?
I did the auction while doing the dishes in the kitchen and doing house chores with the walking around with the laptop. That one went on forever.
I did dump Danny in a little bit of that because I was like, Danny, I'm struggling here. I've got to jump off for like half an hour. Can you just cover me?
Sick.
I COVID. So I was like, really, and it was like my son's birthday, and I was like, oh, this is just the worst time to be scheduled, but it's all good. But I'm going to pull up the roster. And Danny, do you have any questions for anyone while you're kind of ticking along while I try and dig this up?
So I suppose to the two guys on the line, how do they think their teams are actually going to do this season?
We're going to Levi to win it all. I think the Rams will be really good this year. Now Stafford's upright. I think they'll be great.
Any worries about Stafford at all?
Yeah, stacks. Stacks and stacks, but kind of not quite all in again. But I think we've got the best backup QB. Not that that's what you want, but I think Jimmy can throw a ball. I think we're in good shape.
Does Adams agree with that?
Yeah, they've made up, haven't they?
I don't know, but he didn't want him at his last team.
No, but Stetson's had a good preseason as well. Not that matters, but if they can keep Stafford upright, we should have. They made it snow in Philly last year just so we'd lose, because obviously we played indoors. So if it hadn't snowed, we'd have gone to the big show. I think. So.
I've heard some things in my time, mate. That is wild.
Great conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good. For me, it's like next year what they do with those two number one first round picks, and see what they do about their quarterback as well. But I feel good.
Okay, that's fair. I think it's going to be a really interesting season for the Rams. I just think the NFC is so talent light. I'm being polite here. That I think that's fair. That there definitely is an opportunity for them to do well, but I do worry about the health of some of those players. Oh God, the Champ's got another good player here. He's put together a really good job. Xavier Worthy, 17, got Tevin Miller for 20, Devontae Smith for 13, Jackson Smith and Jigba for 26, RJ Harvey for 13, Jalen Hurts 21, Brock Bowers 42. It's good.
Could I ask? Do you think Tet is good for 20? I'm not sure.
I don't think it's amazing. Of all the others, that's the one. But he could be incredible, right? I wouldn't do it, but I also don't think. I don't think it's terrible. Like, I don't think it's a gross overpay for buying into the hype, but I wouldn't do it. But in comparison to everyone else, he's probably paid a little bit more. But like when you offset that of Worthy for 17, considering Rashee Rice is out for 6 games.
Yeah.
And Smith and Jigba for 26. Like, I feel like that kind of balances it all out. If I look at the room as a whole, I don't think there's a gross overpay in there at all for that. So I think that's fair. James, are you a little bit worried about Aaron Rodgers?
A little. I think everything's set up as a one shot at glory that's never going to realistically be achievable. And after that, welcome to the rebuild. I mean, I feel better than I have done the last few years, especially in terms of QE confidence, etc. But it's still not going to be enough to get over the line. I'm still not even sure it's enough to get into the playoffs. And illnesses, injuries, everything's in the place. But we will go as far as the defense will carry us. I don't think it even necessarily is a Rodgers factor for us. It's just if the defense can carry us, we'll see. But I think there's a lot of teams who have got even better defenses than us, in all honesty. And if it's going to be a defense wins championship this year, it's still not going to be us. So, yeah, we can hope.
I've got a question here. I know this is kind of unrelated to salary, but I'm curious on your thoughts. Start 2. Egbuka, Judy, T-Mac. I'm thinking T-Mac is untouchable, but let me know your thoughts. I've heard every combo.
What was that again?
I know this is kind of unrelated to salary, but I'm curious on your thoughts. Start 2. Egbuka, Judy, T-Mac. I'm thinking T-Mac is untouchable, but let me know your thoughts. I've heard every combo.
To start the season, I would be T-Mac and Judy and wait for Igbuka to prove it. I think T-Mac is the one, and especially now Thielen's gone. I think it's almost, I agree with the untouchable comment, but it depends on the injury. And I think Flacco to Judy could be quite a thing this year.
Okay. Ross?
They have the Bengals week 1, so that secondary is horrible. So I think Judy will have a good week 1 for sure. Yeah, I've got him in a few drafts actually. I think he'll have a really good year. I think Flacco will be okay. Yeah, Judy and T-Mac.
This is going to sound like a homer, but I'm going to give you the reason why. I'm probably not starting T-Mac. And it's got nothing on. It's nothing to do with T-Mac or his ability. I'm not sold on Bryce Young. I'm just not in the NFL. I think the fact that Thielen has left, I actually think is a really bad thing for him. Because it's so easy. We saw this last year. With Marvin Harrison, right? Marvin Harrison's a better receiver than T-Mac. But there's no one on the other side. So he just was in double coverage city all the way through. And he just struggled. And that's where I'm at with T-Mac. I just think I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at Ibuka. He's looked phenomenal in training camp. They haven't got anyone else out there, the Bucks. Otton could be out. There's no Godwin. There's no McMillan. Sterling Shepard is not a thing. The Bucks are going to throw the ball against the Falcons 30 times. Someone's got to catch the ball. I think Ibuka's going to get 8 targets. I genuinely think that's a thing. So I sit there and think Judy's a lock against the Bengals. I'm starting him all day long. I think he's incredibly undervalued. How did Quentin Judkins not come up on the screen?
I didn't see that.
It never came up.
No.
Same. I never saw him either.
He hasn't signed a contract yet, though, has he?
No, but the fact that he's been gone for $1, he was in my queue. He was a player I was about to bid for. Literally, I don't know what's going on here. This is so moody. I'm glad I'm not the only one. It never came up on the screen. Never came up on my screen here.
Who did get him for $1?
James.
Oh.
AVFC.
Not me, the other one, the Aston Villa.
Yeah, I'm a bit gutted about that. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'm quite in on Judkins. Yeah, so I just think for me, like I would start. I would bench T-Mac until I saw it. Like people are saying, like, "Oh, Ibuka approve it." I just think he's on a better offense. There's less targets, competition on that team in some regards, and I just think that they're gonna do better, the Bucks than the Panthers. And I just worry that actually Thielen going, how many people are you passing the ball there to in Carolina? Sanders, Coker's gone down now. Thielen's left. Like we're kind of running out of options here on who gets the football. So that's why I'm a bit concerned on T-Mac early. I could be totally wrong, but I don't love that situation. And against the Jags, and the Jags will beef up that D. It's not the worst D in the world. Probably out of the 3 teams, they probably got the better corners than the Falcons and the Bengals. So yeah, that's my thoughts. But I'm doing my matchups thing tomorrow. So Reborn Jungle, join our Discord, and I'll put the matchups, wide receiver, cornerback matchups, and I'll do those 3 specifically and tell you.
I just put the Discord link in the YouTube thing as well.
Yeah, we'll put it in the notes as well. James, Ross, you got any questions you want to ask while we're out here, or questions to ask people that are potentially watching, or to your league mates?
Right. Do I panic yet? I've got a load of positions to fill with only 44.
James is doing good business here with Ndunze. Has just gone on board. Terry McLaurin. James has quietly just been rebuilding.
I've deliberately waited until I was basically one of the top 3 highest budgets again. And then it's a case of I've just ended up deciding I'm only going to bite if I'm the shark.
That's fair. So we should probably talk about Ben. Ben's draft. So we focused on him a while ago. He had $160 left. He's down to $39 left, but he has filled almost the entire starting roster. He's just got the defense left, so he has got plenty of money left. Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyler Warren, Aaron Jones, Isaiah Pacheco, Zay Flowers. What are your thoughts, considering he was the big boy in the room with the budget a little while ago?
I'm trying to play catch up a bit.
Do we think that?
It's still looking at. I'm annoyed with Tyler Warren because he's my guy this year, and it's one of those where it got to 10, and I thought I've only got one wide receiver at that point, but the squad as a whole, I think nearly all of them are guys I would typically have bid on. The only thing in my head is this is the kind of team I would have drafted in the last 2 years and lost with. So let's see.
Do you think there's a ceiling raiser on there?
Oh yeah.
What were you going to say, Ross? Sorry.
So again, like new to the auction draft, is 39. Is that a lot left to have just defense and bench?
Yeah,
I think I'd be splashing a bit more somewhere.
Yeah, so typically the strategy would be I wouldn't be spending more than $1 per player for the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe if you've taken like a less good QB option, you might spend a couple of dollars. But I don't think anyone's spending more than $8 on their bench, with the exception of Rick, who has splashed out on 2 QBs. Danny's quietly putting together some bids here. That's why he's been quiet. He's just plucked Pickens and Tucker Kraft out here. So that's interesting.
I've got a couple of questions, but one of them specifically, but I don't really want to ask it yet because it's going to impact this draft. So I'll hold that one for a little bit.
In what way do you think it's going to impact the draft?
There's a certain... I was going to say there's a certain backfield that is very confusing at the moment, and all 3 of them are still on the board. So that's the question, I suppose.
Yeah, fair.
Oh, I know who you mean.
And I suppose the answer will be dependent on who people bid for, but like that one is very tricky to say the least of how that's going to go.
And it devalues all of them.
Yeah.
So there's value in if you get the right one, but at the moment, it's anyone's guess.
Sorry, Ross.
Oh no. Shouldn't have let you have him.
Yeah, for me, he was the best receiver left.
Yeah.
So I'm comfy. Well, there's one more, actually. I hadn't seen him. Slight mistake, but that's fine. I'm comfy. I'm comfy with Judy for 16.
Here's another question as a generic fantasy one as a whole.
Okay.
In years gone by, the advice was nearly always, if you don't get an elite quarterback, punt it. If you don't get one of the top 3 tight ends, punt it to the end. It feels like in the last sort of 2-3 years, that seems to have almost disappeared as a tactic. It's very much, no, each QB has its price, each tight end has its price, and punting them to the end doesn't have the sort of tactical kudos it once did. do you sort of still feel that, or is there still value in saying, do you know what, I'm just going to take a tight end late nowadays?
If that's to me, I'm 100% punting the position. I get the argument of Bowers and Kittle and McBride to a degree. I have some concerns about McBride. But I sit there and I think there's so many tight ends that are undervalued and that you can pick them up in like the 10th round and then you can stream. I just think that there's such a skew between the top 3 and everyone else that I get the paying the price for, but then the other school of thought, and this is the one I subscribe to more, I don't think you get enough of a positional value to what you sacrifice in the other position. So say you have to take McBride instead of a round 1 equivalent player. So if you take Bowers, you are sacrificing a Brian Thomas, a Puka Nacua, an Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe a Christian McCaffrey, maybe an Ashton Jeanty. That's the kind of realm that he is going in. Travis Etienne for $5 is a good deal. And so with that regard, I do feel like it's tricky. So I think on that, I think I just can't get there on tight end because I don't love the builds that you make. Whereas quarterback, I think, is actually interesting because you said like there's been a swing. I actually would now deviate back the other way and say if you don't get one of the premium ones, you can punt the position. So I wrote in the book this year that I actually managed to stream the QB1 last year just from streaming. So there was enough options out there. The quarterback position's kind of been replenished in such a way that you can stream quarterback, you can stream tight end quite easily, and you can do quite well. So I actually think tight end or quarterback late is a viable strategy this year, and I definitely think tight end late is a viable strategy because I think, but for different reasons, I think quarterback is so deep, as we talked about. The difference between QB7 and QB15 just doesn't feel like it's much of anything. So I don't think you need to pay up. And then I think tight end kind of is just not, everyone's similar. There's just not enough of a tier gap. Unless you're going like 8th, 9th round and going to get like an Andrews, an Ingram, a Juku. I kind of get that, but I'm not going any earlier than that.
Yeah, I think it feels like every year there's like a middle ground that just feels like a trap. And if it wasn't for the suspension to Addison, it's like your Hawkinsons, Laporta, they're the ones that I just seem to feel like are a bit of a trap.
Oh, I completely agree. I just think there's so many trap players out there now. I just think you can really fall into them very, very easily. And yeah, I just think it's very interesting what is out there and what you can do. So yeah, I'm with you. I think for me, I'm quite comfortable to just wait. I'd rather have my sort of 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers. That I feel like more comfortable, and quarterback before I'm sort of investing in other positions, because I've been doing that strategy all summer and I'm walking away with an Njoku, an Ingram, a Kraft, of Jake Ferguson. I feel Jake Ferguson, now he's been paid, is quite good value on that team. So yeah, I just think there's enough. Tyler Warren, Corsten Loveland are there. I just feel like that tier, there's so many players. And then if you want to stream, like Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange have phenomenal opening schedules. Like I just feel like you could just take them for 4 weeks and then just see how the position plays out. Because most people take 2 tight ends anyway, which I think is a mistake. And then most people will drop a tight end in the first 2 weeks of the season. So you might not draft one. You might not draft your second one quite late, but you'll be able to pick one up off the waiver wire by week 2, week 3, because most people would have dropped them, realizing they're never going to use them because they've overdrafted them in the first place. So I think that's fair. I'm going to ask this question to Ross and to Danny because they're a bit newer to the fantasy scape. What would you say is I'm going to ask this two parts, one for auction, and then we've kind of done the auction, but people might have tuned out because it's now 40 minutes in. And we'll stop this at 2 hours, whether the auction's finished or not, because I feel like we're getting to the end of this anyway. Would you say that what would you say is the things that you would tell to people to get better at fantasy? Like, what are some tips and tricks that you would suggest to help with strategy? And what are some things in an auction environment, given it's your first one or the first ones you're kind of doing, that you'd recommend for people who are just starting out for the first time, say next year?
I mean, I can probably answer pretty quickly. So I've done a bunch of different drafts, some with flex, some with super flex, and just understand, I suppose, before you start drafting, actually all the players you need. So I did one that was one QB, and I ended up with 4 QBs. So that was pretty rookie error.
Oh, that's brutal.
And then I just with this auction, I think almost try and do less because I've got loads of stuff set up here, which I tried to kind of fill in as we were going along, and I just had no chance. So I abandoned that idea and just enjoyed it more.
That's fair. Danny?
Yeah, sorry, I was about to. I'm after nominating a second. For me, it's I just go a bit nuts on the research side of things. So, like, I've set up on my X account, I've set up accounts to follow, and each year it just gets bigger and bigger to the point now where there's about 700 accounts on there. I think and it's just I read a lot, I watch a lot, and I just have certain people that I trust, and I listen to their content more than others now once I've been listening to so many different types. I do have a couple of accounts with things as well. So, like, for example, I won an account the first year I was playing. I won a league, and it was in one of the Warrior Bowl leagues, and I won a fantasy points account. And then I got that hooked on it by running stats and doing loads of stuff on it that I ended up renewing it again. And then obviously I've got your Patreon, and I listen to a lot of fantasy points, different people on there as well, just because I had the account, and then I started to know how they operate and listen to their advice. I like to go for like a collective thing and then try and make the best decisions with all the information that I've got. So say, like, for example, it's a bit mad, but the rookie ones, I don't watch college football. So what I did was I just put an Excel sheet together, went off and found 20, 30 different content creators that I sort of listen to or follow, banged them all in a spreadsheet, had them all listed down, and then I would look at them and go, okay, he's high on against ADP. He highlighted them all in green for the people who were high on, the red ones who they were low on, had a proper look at it, and then that helped me to then make my offers when it comes to the rookies in my dynasty leagues, and then obviously in the redraft leagues as well, because I don't have the time to be watching all the college football. I watch some of it, but there's no way I can watch all of it. I've got 3 young kids, so I need to find shortcuts, and that's a shortcut for me. So I was looking at them, and then if I wasn't sure on someone whose judgment do I favour, I would look at who they've got ranked and maybe go in that way. So, like, I've got all spreadsheets for all kinds of crap, and it's just me play around with my thinking on things, and like there's some very good content creators out there. The Sanctuary, like Rich for Dynasty. That's how I got into that. He does so much information around not his rankings, but the theory behind it as well, and comparisons against players, and why each week he gives updates of why he's high on someone and low on someone. And I just listened to it way too much. And it's just, I got to the point where I felt this year was the first time I could draft, where I could just draft without even thinking about it. I just see what was happening and see the way the board's going, and I could make my own decisions based off the amount of knowledge that I've been soaking in. Whereas it took me a while to get to that point. It took me probably 3 years to get to that point. Like, I've got a stack of books there. I've got your book. I've got the playbook from Joe Pisapia. I've got what's name Rob. I've got the consistency guide. I just read loads of stuff, listen to loads of pods, watch the videos, and just sort of eventually it sinks in, and then I make my decisions based off all the different versions that I've followed.
That's fair. James, what advice would you give to people? You say you've been doing this 13 years, to either for both auction and then just leveling up this year in fantasy, where you think there's some opportunities for people?
First bit of advice, don't feel like you've lost it as soon as you've exited the draft, because fantasy's unpredictable and anything can happen on a week to week. At the same time, don't be confident and think that you've won it straight after the draft, because at the same time, injuries can happen to any player at any moment. You may think that your roster settled, and then someone sends you a trade that you just think, oh, actually, maybe there's some legs in this to improve myself. And sometimes you can see the first 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and suddenly think, okay, their role is not what I thought it was. You've pretty much got to remember that it's, 16, 17 week season for you, essentially, if you're good. And you've got to play the waiver wire as well as playing the draft. So it's almost a case of stay water and just always be on your guard. And if you're standing still, you're probably falling behind.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one. I always say to people, my advice is similar to that. If you aren't leading the league in transactions, you aren't working hard enough. I just think you should always be turning over your bench. And it ties into my next point that your draft value dies at the draft. It just dies at the draft. So it doesn't matter. Oh, I paid a 3rd round pick for him. Yeah, but if he's garbage, you just got to get rid. In this
format, it's worth more than ever. I had someone in one of the auction links that I went in who it was their first ever auction as well. And they genuinely thought that when you made a trade in an auction league, the values of the players on both sides had to match. So if you had a $10 player on one side, you had to make $10 on the other side. And we had to say that as soon as the draft is done, apart from for keeper rules, that's it. You can draft a $1 player for a $10 player, and sometimes the way the roster construction works, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
because someone's having to give up a $10 player because they don't have a QB, and someone drafted all the QBs for $1 each or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so fundamentally important, that the draft value dies at the draft, and you got to outwork everybody. It doesn't always have to be trades. People think trades is the way to win. It's actually just being smart on the waiver. It's being smart on waiver wires. It's turning over your bench consistently, and it's trying to don't chase last week's highest points. Look at the smart players are looking at opportunities. The smart players aren't looking at the box score. They're looking at the snap shares. They're looking at the target shares. They're looking at the
injury reports.
They're looking at injury reports. They're looking at pathways for opportunity. One of the things that, and Danny will tell you this, one of the things I do that I don't know anyone that does this, and I think this is why I'm a bit niche, is when we get to around week 11, week 12 of the season, I'll tell the Patreons I'm tracking our running back touches.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll just say this running back is averaging 25 touches a week, 23 touches a week, which means they're on track for, 380 touches. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. They're not going to get 380 touches. So there is going to be a drop-off in their touch rate. Or they're going to get injured. So that's kind of where we are. So it's just literally that. It's you just have to look at those opportunities and think, where do you find edges? So I always recommend, I wrote the book this year, looking at how many snaps they're on the field, what's their target share, targets per route run. Now, some of this is advanced analytics. It's not easy to get, but that's the kind of stuff. The box score, if people look at that, it's like, oh, so-and-so got 3 catches for 39 yards. Oh, I'm not interested. But then all of a sudden I'll see that he got, his targets per route run was 29%, and which isn't terrible. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. And then he's got 8 catches and he was on the field 84%, or 8 targets and he was on the field 86% of the time. And it's like, okay, there's an anomaly there that isn't right. So that's where good players find an edge, and that's hard to find. Find the content creators who aren't telling you the players to pick. They're giving you the justifications for why certain players and what are those opportunities. And if you can find that, and Danny asked me this question about a year ago. He said, where do you find this data? And I put it in the playbook, and I'll put it out in the Discord. Here's a link for a load of free resources where you can find about 90% of that stuff. Because I think that's where the edge is. Don't go chasing last week's points. Chase the anomalies. Chase the ones where a rebound week is on the horizon. Buy low, sell. Buy low, sell high kind of philosophy. I think that's really important.
Another thing, Murph, as well, is if you're new, do mock drafts. Just get used to the feel of it all, and if it's like an auction, for example, do a mock auction. Just so you know where the buttons are and the timings and stuff like that. And any format, just do that. It just doesn't take long, and you sort of get used to things and you feel a bit more comfortable. Because otherwise, when you start and you're just in a draft, it's quite. If you're not used to it, it can be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to update listeners for the sort of second to last time on players that have gone. So we talked about, I think the last update, we had Ridley for 14, Jerry G went to me for 16, Jalen Waddle for 16, Jacoby Myers for 6, feels like a good deal, Ross. I think you did well there. Ricky Pearsall for 12 to Danny. Travis Hunter for 10 to the champ. He's just getting value everywhere. Cooper Kupp for 7, Stephon Diggs for 5, Chris Olave for 14. That doesn't feel bad since there's hardly anyone else. Khalil Shakir for 9, Jordan Addison for 7, Jordan Jennings for 3, Marvin Mims for 3, Higgins went for 4, Michael Pittman went to James for 10. I feel like he was probably the best receiver left in there, so I feel like you've done well there, James.
Still feel overpaid, but
well, you've got the money though, I suppose. So I guess now we're kind of into the final throes of the auction. We have amazingly still 60-ish picks left, but those will go relatively quickly. I'm going to ask each of you how you feel about your teams now. Would you swap? Now we're sort of in the end game of this auction draft. So I'll start with you, Danny.
I prefer it now than I did before, but at the same time, there's definitely better teams than mine. So the running back is the big worry. I'm very happy with the wide receiver room. I am okay with the QB, and I'm fine with the tight end. Worries the running back, but I have managed to pick up a couple, so I've got 3 now, whereas 20 minutes ago I had 1 and I was panicking.
Fair. James? You got the most work to do, I think, still in the room. You and the other.
I have, but there are enough players left on my wish list that I'm still comfortable with it, and I still think it's sort of. I've gone high power early, and McLaurin was the difference there in terms of McLaurin and Odunze for 30 combined sort of turned it round. I still think the overpays on Ridley and Pittman slightly, but looking at the prices that other players have been going for, it was almost a bit of a needs must. I'm happy drafting tight end late. I've definitely got one guy in mind that he's probably not on a lot of people's radars. So I'm hoping that comes to fruition. And then it's basically needing 1 flex, 1 defense, and I've still got a 10 max. So I'm still quite happy with it. There are definitely a few rosters where I'm like, do you know what? I probably would prefer to be in their position. I mean, Danny's right in that if he had slightly better running backs, I would feel like that is a very good roster.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not as confident as I was.
Yeah, I feel Danny's roster is interesting because if Trayvon doesn't get the job quickly, that room drowns pretty quickly.
I'll be offering trades for one of those top wide receivers.
Absolutely. Whereas James, I feel like you've got yours is all on Christian McCaffrey. If he's 100% go and he lasts the season, you're in great shape to to kick on with Allen and Bijan and McLaurin, and you got the depth there. Ross, how do you feel about your team?
Running backs, I really messed this up. I mean, I haven't got a second one yet, really.
Well, I'm confused why you bid me up on Woody Marks.
I thought $2 might be. I like his name. I think that's a real problem for me.
You just want to imagine he's got Andy written under his cleat.
Yeah, I'm happy with my wide receivers. I think I really like Njoku for my tight end.
Yeah, you've done well there. And
Jake
Ferguson.
Yeah, I need running backs badly.
Yeah, you've done well there. I think your team is looking good, but yeah, you are short on running backs. There, I think yours is all going to change here in the next little while. I kind of wish I had a few more dollars, not lots more, but a little bit more. I'm quite happy with the team. I do feel I'm one running back light. I'd like to have one more.
You want Marks?
Yeah, well, I did bid for him. I was hoping I was going to get him. I think there's a pathway for him. So I think there's a pathway to him, and that's kind of what I was invested in, but that's fine. But look, I think my team's in good nick. I think the wide receiver room's decent. The running back room for the three I've got are good. I don't have a tight end. I don't care. And I got Joe Burrow. So I feel all right. I feel like Ben's got a good team. Nick's, Irving, Walker, Moore, Harrison, Warren, Jones, Pacheco, Johnson, Tracy. Like, he's stacked at running back. He's got a decent wide receiver room in Moore, Harrison, and Flowers. He's got Warren and Andrews. Like, he's got Cup at wide receiver as well. Like, I feel like Ben's team, it doesn't have the ceiling raiser, but he has a lot of consistency, a lot of really good players that are going to be really good. So it's like, I think he's got a nice, solid roster. And I think, shout out to Matt. I think Matt's roster, if he can survive week 8, he's basically got the Lions roster. So if they take a dip this year, he is in trouble. Crispy's roster is really good. Yeah, a lot of week 8 buys. I like, Purdy for $1, Jacobs, Taylor, Hill, McConkey, Hawkinson, ETN, Diggs, Olave. I mean, it's very much Addison, JK. It's a very old team, but in a redraft league, that doesn't really matter. I quite like that team a little bit. And Kingram's put a decent team together as well. Kyler, Chase Brown, Cook, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Kittle, Javonte, Juwan Jennings, Keon Coleman, Keenan Allen. And Budgie's team's not bad too. I feel like he's got the running back sorted. I feel like he needs a ceiling raiser at QB. Well, he's got Stroud. I think he's done actually. Budgie's done. He left $3 behind. He's the first team done. Lawrence, Connor, Hubbard, Sutton, London, Ingram, Golden, and Booker, Pollard, Green Bay, Jameson Williams, Khalil Shakir, Brian Robinson, CJ Stroud, and Dallas got up. It's a good team. I don't think anyone's gone really bad except for Brown Bear Rick, who has got $12 to fill 10 spots.
He's just going to have a draft to himself at the end, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he's got Mayfield, Jackson, Barkley, Jefferson, and McBride, which is the makings of a great team. But it's what the rest of that team does.
It would be epic if it was Superflex.
Oh, yeah. He spent about $8 too much on that second QB. But it is what it is. I'm just going to read out the last few picks here, because I think we're going to get to the point we're going to end this stream. Even though the last 50... I'm kind of in two minds because like the last 50 picks are going to fly by. It's like, I think we could be over in like 10 minutes. Maybe I'll give it a few more minutes and see what happens. Unless any of you want to jump off, that's fine. James, do you want to tell us a little bit about full 10 yards and what content? I know you mentioned you've got your sort of column and most of the podcast. What's the channel doing over there? Where can people find full 10 yards? And what are you what is full 10 yards going to be covering most this year?
So, I mean, Full 10 kind of have a habit of covering a little bit of everything. I mean, we've started gone quieter on the fantasy realms and more concentrated on, you know, the NFL as a whole. The betting markets are getting a lot of hits in terms of, you know, popular content from our side. Some college ball as well, but you can find us on most of the podcast streams. You can find us on YouTube, pretty much the same place you would expect to find anyone, just at full 10 yards, basically. We're always active on the various socials, on X, on things. We're hoping, we were originally planning to have a week 1 meetup, but it kind of got too late in the day in the end. So we might be looking to set one up later. We don't know. But just the more integration, the merrier.
Yeah, mate. I mean, that's awesome. Be a big fan. Full 10 yards has been going for a long time. I remember when Tim Monk, original creator and I guess founder, is that fair? I still speak to Tim quite frequently, actually. What a guy!
Leaked with him, for obvious reasons.
Tim's such a guy. But yeah, I know he got kind of done with the content creation, but absolute baller in terms of his knowledge and great human. But yeah, 14 yards has been going, what, probably 10 years now?
Just about, yeah. I mean, we had previous incarnations before that as well that melded into it. And I mean, it started out, even when Full 10 started, we were pretty small for a small network, and then sort of branched out and grew between different fan bases and different, you know, realms. And then we suddenly got to the point where we had 3 podcasts for 3 different reasons, all getting, you know, reasonable amount of hits. You know, I was on the fantasy podcast, we had the betting podcast, we had college, and we had, you know, NFL as a whole, and we were, you know, sharing things around. I mean, granted, a lot of that was in the COVID years where everyone was sat at home quite happy to just sit with a microphone. But, you know, the website is still, you know, popping off with plenty of hits as we go along, and it keeps evolving. And to be fair, the whole fantasy landscape in the UK keeps evolving. Just not just fantasy, sorry, the NFL landscape as a whole. So, yeah, it's an exciting place to be. I'm just happy to be a small part of it, really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's, you know, I think it's amazing that we've got such passionate people here in the UK that are putting out content. And, you know, I think when I first got into the space with fantasy football, there just wasn't much of a community. There was kind of, people couldn't connect and couldn't really get, you know, leagues together. And now, like, everyone's got leagues and everyone's like, there is a good connection. There's so much on now that perhaps wasn't there previously, which I think is phenomenal. So, I
will say one thing though, because of the amount I follow, the amount of, you know, different you know, leagues I'm in various either charity guises or for different you know, pods I follow, for my own ones, for the ones I run, for the ones that I'm part of with the podcast and everything else. My Tuesday mornings are horrific going through the waiver wire. I am, in terms of leagues that have an active waiver wire, as in where either it's not best ball or it's not a dynasty league where there are so many bench spots that the waiver wire is near enough useless. I'm probably still pushing 60, 70 leagues I have to look at. So just a glutton for punishment, really. But as you say, if you're not making moves, you're not working hard enough. Trust me, you have to work hard to keep 60 leagues afloat.
Oh, 100%. I think that's so crucial that you really do have to work really hard to keep those leagues. Yeah, I got a similar number myself, mate. So I definitely feel that is a real thing. And I think it's interesting that when you do these sort of leagues where you actually have to be more on the ball because the bench is quite short, you have to be really on it and you have to remember all the different formats. It is a real study. Like, you do have to really sort of study through your way and find sort of your pathway to success, kind of thing. But I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. I think it's amazing that what we are doing in the UK, and I still get all the time the amount of shorts, by the way, I get comments where people go like, "Oh, there's a Brit talking about fantasy football." We've been doing this a long time, and I think it's people keep bidding me up on my nominations. It's quite irritating.
It's a good thing when you're in the $1 club, isn't it?
I know, but at least I'm putting up players I'm not that bothered about.
That was actually on my list as one of the questions. It's not really a question; it's more probably an actual, I don't know, a whole section, and it might be one for later in the week or something. But it was around what's name? Where was it? What exactly was I saying? About how the game management during the week. So, likes of the what's name, the waiver wire, but also like, for example, I would set all my teams on a Monday morning, and then so that I don't have to do as much at the last minute when there's injury news, stuff like that, around trying to do it so that when that last hour comes on a Sunday afternoon, you don't have to do a lot of the other stuff because you've already done it. It's just focusing on the tweaks at that point. So like maybe having something that later in the week where you're just talking, refreshing on them. This is how I do my week, set my teams. This is how I do the waiver wires and all the rest of it. Might be a good piece, especially for newer people.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like when you think about setting your week up, I try and do them all. I do waivers on a Tuesday. I set my lineups before I do waivers. And then I do waivers, and then I actually don't look at the lineups until Thursday.
Yeah.
I give myself Wednesday off. Looking at anything too drastic, I think that just kind of helps with where I want to be. And then Thursday, I kind of just do it all before Thursday night football, and then again I'll do a check on a Saturday after Thursday night football. I think one of the things, James, I'm keen on your opinion on this, given the amount of leagues, and Danny, you as well. I don't actually look at my fantasy team scores until Monday. Because when I'm watching the games, I want to watch the games, right? And it's kind of like when you're in as many leagues as we are, it doesn't really matter who scores because I've got them somewhere. and I'm playing them in a league. It kind of doesn't matter. And yeah, we all have favorite leagues and leagues of record and all that. And there might be later on in the season when you get to playoffs that stance changes. But in the regular season of fantasy, I don't really look at my fantasy teams on a Sunday. I just watch the games.
Typically, unless I have a specific matchup I'm bothered about. Yeah, I'm more likely to in the era where DFS was still allowed in the UK and DraftKings was still a thing. I would be more concentrated on my DFS and my betting score. That would be the one I'd be looking at while watching Red Zone, and my fantasy teams would deal with themselves as the weekend passed on, and I would look on Monday. And even then, nowadays with Monday Night Football that it's never over on a Sunday, or it's very rarely over. Usually, you or your opponent has something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'd be very similar to James. If I was playing DFS, I'd be looking at it 24/7. If there's a league, there's 2 or 3 leagues that I'm in that I would be checking in game. I try not to, but I just can't help myself, to be honest. There's certain ones that I really want to do better in than other ones, and those ones I'd be like, I could be checking it like 50 times. Like it just sometimes like, and then other times I might not look at all. But I sort of like to know where I am.
I'm deliberately putting up players so that James Spavin, AVFC James, bids on them. So I put up Ching and Quankro, knowing that he was going to bid me. I love it. I'm trying to get this, trying to just get things done. Oh, JJ. Very nice, Danny. You're almost done now. I'm looking
I like JJ McCarthy a lot. So seeing him go up to 5 is like, damn it.
Yeah, that is quite. Danny hasn't got much left. He's still got money left to go and buy.
I've got 5 running backs now as well.
Yeah, you do. You've added.
They're not all great. They're not all great, but I'd be praying for 1 or 2 of them to go well. But
you got 4.
I thought I had 5 now. Didn't I get Allen as well? Oh no, sorry, 4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, Allen Warren. Whatever.
Yeah, it's not a great running back room at all. If I can get 2 of them out every week, I'll be happy at the moment.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how this shapes up. Ross, you're almost done. You've got $11. Who are you going to spend your $11 on? Because I think you've got the biggest bid. You can just drop $11 on your nominate and get whoever you want.
Talk me through what's my nominate. Sorry, I thought I'd
when
got
you
almost
when
got
you
to-
nominate, you can nominate for $11.
Oh,
And
I've been nominating all
no one can
night.
touch him. No, you don't have to nominate for one. You can just change the amount to 11.
Is he not all 15 already picked out?
I've already got
No.
my picks all done.
Have you?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
picked them all.
I kind of got a bit. I was
thought you
listening to
still
you guys,
had
got a
one.
bit carried away on bidding for every
Oh,
running
you
back.
have, yeah.
And
I'm sorry, I'm thrown off because Commish Casey next to you hasn't bid for a defense.
I wanted the one I should have splashed my money on was Cross Merritt, and I missed him.
Oh yeah, you should have done. Yeah, if you had money left over.
Yeah, loads of money left over.
Oh, Bradbury's finally getting players. That's good. Let's see if James bids me up here. Kingham has. This is why I'm just not putting the players up I want. Because everyone just they see it's me and are like, oh yeah, go on, I'll bid for him. So I need to change the order of my list. I'm gonna have to start getting some of the people I want. Yeah, because James, you've still got 5 to go. I've still got 5 to go.
Oh, I like blue as well for Dallas. And
then Kingham's got 1. James Badman's got 3. Matt's got 2. We're at the point now. I think we're going to end this in the next 5 minutes, with the exception of Brown Bear Rick, who will be just bidding on his own, it will rapid fire through all of them. Demario Douglas. James, talk to me about Demario Douglas. How are you feeling about him this year? You've obviously gone for him.
To be honest, that was one of those where I half expected someone to put in 2, but this is the point where you go for a $1 one that you don't mind getting.
Yeah.
On full 10 recently, I kind of slated off the Patriots, saying that offensive line scares me and I don't really want much of a part of it. And the wide receiver room is massively mixed, but Demario Douglas feels like if Drake May is going to be the powerhouse that he's been drafted as and be as good as everyone thinks he's going to be, someone is going to pick up the work. And if Williams is not full ready to go yet and is going to take some time to bed in, Douglas feels like maybe the safest pair of hands, because Travion's still going to have to get up to work before he's getting a lot of the pass catching. Stevenson's still coming back from injury, and the rest of it's a plethora. So Douglas seems to be the one that I think has the most chemistry. So hey, it's a dollar thing. If it's looking like I'm wrong and Williams takes over, or I'm right and May spends most of his time on his backside, straight to the waiver wire you go.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is all the picks at this point. They're all players where it's like you take a punt on them. If it don't work, waiver wire.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. I finally. Oh no, I've been bid up for Brenton Strange.
I still can't believe, by the way, I was saying earlier about there's a late round tight end that I like. It wasn't Strange. The person I wanted still hasn't come up. But
no.
I've got Colton Loveland for $2.
Yeah, I was hoping to snag Strange. He wasn't my number 1. He was my number 2 tight end, and I thought people would stop bidding me up. But a team with now 3 tight ends has bid me up. So I haven't bought a player for like an hour, I don't think. It feels like.
I just messed up then. So I timed out for picking someone, so it picked for me, and then nobody else wanted them. So I got Jonnu Smith for $1 at the end.
And you had money left.
And now I wanted another running back, but I didn't know which one to get. I was too busy looking at the queue trying to find out, and then it picked for me.
Oh, that feels like an opportunity missed.
Yeah, big time.
That does feel like an opportunity missed.
Anyway.
So I'm just seeing who's got players left. I think it's just James. James, Brown Bear Rick, and me. We've got players left, so this is going to fly through. Pretty quickly. We have had a question in. I'm going to fire it up. Fire up now. Hey fellas, 10-team half PPR. Where wives draft but husbands control after the draft. No one drafted Tyler Warren. How much fab should I drop for him? 20%. Yes, I got Najee Harris. This is why you wait. How much fab? 20%. I can't drop 20% on a tight end. I can't. I'm not spending 20% of my fab on a tight end, no matter how much I like them.
Yeah, 20 seems too high, but you almost think in a 10-teamer, though, I suppose. 10-teamers, because they're not necessarily, you're not struggling on the waiver wire necessarily.
No, and half PPR.
Yeah, if it was full PPR, 20 is just about justifiable. At half, I'm sort of in the 10 to 15 camp, probably, and I don't think it would get it done.
No, I'd set a limit at 11. I think if you get 11 for him, I could swallow that. I just think in a half PPR, I'm probably going to want all of those players to be. I'm probably going to want all those players to be. I want as much money for the running backs as possible. You got your guy, Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor was the guy.
Yeah. I kind of worked out that was who you were going for.
And Cam Ward finishes my draft.
Nice. We're in auto mode now. And we're done. Those picks literally flew off the board at the end like crazy. I will just quickly update them from where we were. So we did Jaden Reed, $3 feels phenomenal value from the champ. Keon Coleman, $7. Keenan Allen, $2. Chris Godwin, $3, phenomenal value. Josh Downs, $5. Rashid Shaheed, $4. Brandon Ayuk for $1 for the champ. The champ's really pulled out some values here. Darnell Mooney, $6. Bateman, $2. Burden, $1. Kirk, $1. Leggett, $2. Thielen, Douglas, $1. There's a lot of $1. Everyone else here is pretty much $1. Coker, $1. Palmer, Thornton, Robinson, Tillman, Harris, Hollywood Brown, and then Mr. Irrelevant was Amari Cooper. Battle for Zach Ertz. But thanks, guys. And then one last question. Drake May, JJ McCarthy, or Kyler Murray? Go, gents. Who are you taking there?
I know my answer.
Yeah, I know
JJ McCarthy. I take the mystery box.
Okay.
Drake May.
Drake May probably is the right answer, but I just like the mystery. I think JJ has the upside to be really high end with Jefferson, Addison, etc. I just don't have enough confidence in New England and Kyler Murray. It's been a while since we've seen it, and I'm worried whether it's going to ever come back. I think the injuries are taking too much of a toll.
I've drafted loads of JJ McCarthy, and it's probably influenced, as I was mentioning before, that fantasy point. John Hansen has tipped the Vikings to win the Super Bowl, and he keeps banging on about JJ McCarthy. And it's probably stuck in my head a little bit as well. But yeah, I would go May, but I've drafted McCarthy.
I'm going to be really boring. I like McCarthy too, but I really like O'Connell. So he's put all his eggs in that basket, right? So I trust him.
Yeah. That's fair. I think. I like either war. I think for me, May carries the upside in a 10-team league, half PPR. I'm probably taking the rushing. Adjusting in that format, I just think Drake May probably gives you a little edge. Although I totally buy the argument on JJ. I'm in that view that if you said JJ over Drake May, I can't even put up a really big argument either way.
They're in the same tier for me.
They are in the same tier. I would lean May, and I think the rushing just gives it me. But yeah, I think either or. I think we all agree that it's not Kyler. I think that's kind of the opportunity that just don't take Kyler, take one of the other two, and you're in a pretty good spot. Gents, we've hit the end of the draft. We've been going for 2 hours and 19 minutes. This might be the longest. It's not the longest podcast in history on this channel, but it's certainly one of the longest live streams we've ever done. So I'm going to go to Ross. Oh, Ross has just jumped off the screen. So I'll go to James. Where can everyone find you on the handles?
So on X, Instagram, and generically online, my handle's always at NFL Hype Train. So it was the article I started on before I even onboarded on Full 10. So place to find me there, and then at Full 10 Yards, pretty much everywhere else, especially on YouTube as well. Very much the place to find me.
Brilliant. Ross?
He's gone, hasn't he, I think?
I think
Can
so.
you hear me? My connection.
I can hear you. I can hear all the clicking.
I don't know what's happened to my phone. People are WhatsApping me because they're. I've told a lot of people I'm in this tonight, and they're like, "How are you getting on?" Because the board's too fuzzy, they can't make it out. So my connection has just dropped off, unfortunately. But what was the question again? Sorry, Murph.
Where can people find you and interact with you? Are you any socials or anything?
I've just joined the Discord thing, so on there, I'm not a streamer like you guys or anything like that. So just a punt.
Don't have to be, but if people want you to just link with you and probably start tapping you up for leagues.
Absolutely. Discord, I'll be on there for sure.
There you go, on the Discord. One last question. Someone has just quickly jumped in. Should I start Coleman and Shakir in the double flex, or should I use Myers or Ollie Gordon? I have Allen.
Is Shakir fit? I thought he was a doubt.
He's questionable. I'm never starting 2 receivers from a team that isn't the Bengals. I don't like
Coleman's
to have 2
Florida State, so start him.
It's not a good omen for him. If that's Jacoby Myers,
yeah, it has to be.
Then that's not a conversation. Like, he's got to be playing. I'm not playing Ollie Gordon. I just think Achan will be back at this stage. Tune in Sunday, and that might be a different question. It is, yeah. I'm playing Jacoby Myers. Like, that's not even. I don't even need to see the rest of them. Like, I think I'm probably playing Coleman and Myers. Yeah, I do worry about Shakir. Is he going to be on account? Is he fit? And I'm not playing Gordon unless Achan is out. Myers is my one. Maybe I would go. Yeah, Gordon would move up if Achan is out, but I don't think that is going to happen. It's definitely
they'll get Achan on the pitch, won't they, somehow?
Yeah, I would expect. I would expect him to play at this stage. He's returned to practice, so like the fact he's practicing already says he's a go. So I'm not playing Ollie Gordon. So yeah, I think you're both picking this by default. So, but this has been awesome. Danny, first show, chaotic, and they've kept you on the stream for 2 hours.
Well, I was on with you for 20 minutes before it as well. So I managed. My wife's took the kids all to sleep tonight, thank God. So I've been on for nearly 3 hours on the first one.
Yeah,
I spent nearly 2/3 of my budget while putting my kid to sleep. I was reading a Beatrix Potter book while bidding.
I've definitely bidded before while I'm sitting at the end of the bed. That's for sure.
No, boys,
it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
No, I really appreciate you all. I appreciate you all playing the leagues, jumping on, being part of the content. And this is what being part of the 5 Yard community is about. You might have an opportunity to come and join us and draft with us live. We might do some more drafts in the season just to sort of like do a redraft of history and just have some fun. This has been a lot of fun, a lot of knowledge dropped, a lot of fun things to talk about. I'll be back later on in the week, probably tomorrow, and drop you waiver wire for week 1. Then we'll have the matchup show. Check out the boys who dropped the NFL show at the same time we were streaming with them. But week 1 is upon us. The wait is over pretty much. And come join the Discord, join the conversation. If you're still drafting like a few of us degenerates, good luck and Godspeed over the next 48 hours. But we are just about 50 hours away from football being back. So appreciate you guys for coming on. Interact with these guys in the Discord. Follow Full 10 Yards. Danny will be back next week. A normal schedule on a Thursday, and we'll be having a great time bringing you the breakdown of week 1. But until then, Rush Nation, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for enjoying. I hope you've learned a lot. Don't forget, as always, get a dub in week 1 and keep rushing.